Nigerian Air Force launches special operation to secure the Abuja-Kaduna highway. Federal government approves SIM replacement for subscribers whose SIMs were lost, stolen, misplacement. This and more on Panorama this afternoon from the Sokoto Network Center. I am Asma Habibu Shagadi. Nigerian Air Force has launched a special operation code named Exercise Temako Yazo to further secure the Abuja-Kaduna highway. Ahmad Umar Kudan reports that the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Siddiq Baba Abubakar, launched the exercise in Rijana village along the highway.
With a clear-cut mandate to make Kaduna-Abuja highway safer, these special forces are to search and combat criminal elements as they rescue victims of crimes. Utilizing air and ground components, Exercise Temako Yazo, meaning help has come, aims at detecting and eliminating bandits and kidnappers, including their camps along the highway. Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Siddiq Baba Abubakar, says the exercise will be sustained and extended to Zamfara and Katsina states.
I'm sure it has impacted positively. It has also deterred criminals from coming out on this road to attack innocent citizens. And I said it's an exercise that is going to be a continuous one. We make sure that at short notice, without anybody even knowing, we'll be doing these exercises in between the 6 major ones that we're planning.
This inauguration brings another sigh of relief to motorists and regional community that has been in the news for the notorious activities of kidnappers and bandits.
When you give the information, they will go to reveal it to these bandits. Later on, they will come and meet you and kill you at home. But maybe this time around, if we can see this kind of magic today, we know they are ready to work and fight these kind of bandits inside our bush.
The exercise is being conducted under the Nigerian Air Force Special Operations Command. In Kaduna, Ahmad Umar Kudan, NTA.
The Directorate of Defense Media Operation DMO Air Interdiction missions being conducted by the Air Force of Operation Lafia Dole have continued to deal with terrorists and destruction of their structures and logistics store. DMO Coordinator Major General John Enache indicates that the latest of this was achieved on 1st January 2020 at Mana Warji in Borno State, where the terrorists set up a new settlement. The airstrike were executed employing Nigerian Air Force Sighter platforms after a series of guerrilla surveillance revealed that the new settlement was being used to store weapons, logistic items, and staging areas for attacks. The NAV aircraft subsequently destroyed some of the structures and logistics stores. Several insurgents were also neutralized in the process. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Pantami, has approved a SIM replacement being stolen, lost, misplacement and damaged. A statement by the Director of Public Affairs, Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, Ikechukwu Adinde, indicates that the replacement is subjected to conditions, including that the subscribers present a national identification number, that an effective verification of the national identification number is carried out by National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, and that the relevant guideline and regulators on NCC concerning SIM replacement are fully adhered to. This policy is part of the federal government effort to reduce the burden on subscribers and simplify the exercise. Federal government directive for Nigerians to link their SIM cards to national identification number has become a source of concern to some residents in Sokoto, as many spend long hours waiting to be registered. Sheikh Muhammad Datti was at the National Identity Management Commission Sokoto and now reports.
These people throng the NIMC office Sokoto It is trying to acquire national identification number before the federal government deadline of 6 weeks to block any SIM that is not linked to national identification number. However, these Nigerians say the challenges are many before someone is allowed entrance into the office for the registration.
Jiya na zo yau na zo amma kuma yau da karfe 4:20 na taho wurin kuma gaskiya an rubuta min ga layi kuma an kira ni kuma an yi mai an kare.
To wallahi mun ji an rubuta mu amma kuma ba a yi kiran sunan ma ba an dai a sai hankali.
I've been coming here for the past 4 days.
Now what is happening?
Well, the line is too much and it's overcrowded.
I've been here for quite almost 10 hours.
So what is happening now?
We are waiting for to give us the number.
NMC office say the number of people trooping to the office has become a serious challenge, hence the need for security agencies to assist them control the crowd.
It is not even the question of having 3 weeks and 6 weeks. It's not even the issue. Believe you me, even if the federal government extends this into 2 years, people will not come and do it.
NTA News observed that COVID-19 protocols were not observed by the people. In Sokoto, Shehu Muhammad Datti, NTA News.
Following the federal government's directives for Nigerians to link their identity number with their SIM cards, there is large turnout of people at different centers trying to get registered. To discuss this and more, I am with Professor Yahaya Tanko Baba, who is of Department of Political Science, Usman Danfodio University here in Sokoto. Sir, welcome to News Panorama. Okay, tell me what will be the benefits of this linkage.
Enormous benefits. I mean, this is long overdue. It should have come much earlier than now. You know, having a national database of citizens that can be watched, that can be tracked, is very necessary for effective fight against crime. You know, a nation that does not have a database of its own citizens, it has already planned to fail. This scourge of insecurity that is pervading this nation today is all as a result of inadequate, credible information about the citizens, about these criminals, about how they, organize their crimes, about how they penetrate societies, and for instance, kidnapping. The spread of kidnapping is so strange that people are kidnapped, contacts are made with their relatives, and they communicate through phones, and they collect ransom, and they release people. But if this means of communication, that is to say the mobile lines that people use, can be linked to national identity, then of course operators and the National Identity Management Commission can always track communication lines between and among people. If you have an incident, or if your relative is actually involved or is a victim of one crime or another, and a communication is established between you and the criminals, what you need to do is just to actually report the number. And once the number is actually placed on the database, it could reveal the identity of that number. And then, of course, so what we are saying in essence is that fighting crime is not about deployment of security personnel. It's not about the purchase of military equipment. It's also about it's even more important than investing huge amount of money in personnel and equipment, because prevention in crime management and in crime control and in the fight against crime, information and intelligence is very key, because the idea of fighting crime is to prevent it, not to apprehend people who perpetuate it. So now preventing crime means that you have information that is credible and reliable. And to have this, now you have to build a database. If people are using phones, you should have, as a matter of national security, that every person that is linked to a phone number, his information is also available to security agencies, to the authorities. And that explains why we say now the government is coming, lately do, better late than not, that every citizen who have access to mobile phone, who is connected to mobile communication, should have his line registered or linked to national identity number. First, you have to register your SIM to know that this SIM belongs to you as a person with your identity. And the next stage is to get this SIM linked to your national identity number. And now if this is linked to national identity number, now the government have an idea of who owns phone numbers, which phone number is owned by who, and which pattern of communication goes around the country. People will argue that this is intruding into the privacy of people. Not at all. Not at all. It's not everybody that is called, it's not everyone's exists about suspicion of a crime being committed by an individual. It's much, much easier. Information and then put that very particular person or group of people by security agencies, instead of now mobilizing security agents with guns, engaging them in combat, leading to even losing, our security personnel and even innocent citizens that are on the street. So it's really very, very important.
Okay. So, sir, what will be the effect of blocking of SIMs, and what happens when at the expiration of the deadline?
Yeah, that's where the mystery lies. A very short period of time is given by the government to say that you have to get your SIM cards linked before this particular deadline. Failure to do that, you have your SIM blocked. But the question is, does the government have the framework, the required infrastructure and facilities to get people registered within the time frame? We have seen a report from Sokoto where one center in which people are expected to go and get their national identity number is crowded, and the indications are that even at the lapse of this deadline, people are not likely to get registered even if they keep going every now and then. So what the government need to do, because this is a matter of national security, you cannot afford to block the SIM cards of half the population of Nigeria, or a quarter of the population of Nigeria, or millions of Nigeria, because it also has its own economic implications, security and economic implications. Now, the operators will be running at loss. The government revenue will also drop. There will be apprehension on the part of the citizens, dissatisfaction, resentment, and that will actually trigger, if you like. We don't want to have scenarios where people will come and protest peacefully, and for the protest to also be hijacked. So what the government need to do is to improvise, to further empower this particular agency, and even give it the mandate to outsource. This is digital. You can outsource smaller private outfits that can help the National Identity Management Commission to register people on behalf of the commission if they are licensed, so that you can have you can have multiple outlets. You can have up to 50 outlets in major cities where people can go and register, instead of registering in one center, two centers, 3 or 4 centers. So that effort is seen to be made by government to ensure that every individual that is interested in registering his SIM card with linking his name with SIM card is given the opportunity to do that within the period of time. If this is not done, then I can imagine that the deadline will elapse, and that huge number of Nigerians will actually be left out of this very particular registration, and this will be chaotic.
On this note, what should be done to improve the services and ensure that more people are registered?
For instance, the National Identity Management Commission need to increase the number of its personnel, or ad hoc personnel, or facilities such as all of these equipment that are needed to register people, and designate a lot of centers within town, and also take note of people in the countryside and the rural areas. It's not only in Sokoto or in Sabonbiri or in Tambol that people need to register their phone. Even in hamlets, people use phone. Now you want to you want to get somebody from 100, 150 kilometers away from the state capital to come and register his SIM. This is really, so what we need to do is that the government and the commission that is responsible for this registration should actually think outside the box. They can engage private operators and outsource them, license them to register, so that commission is given to them, and then they will go deep into the society and establish multiple centers, and people can with ease can come and register within a day, within some hours. You get your registration and you leave. And then when the deadline reaches, people who have not demonstrated effort to come and register, meaning they have sinister motives, then the lines can be blocked.
So we thank you so much, sir, for sharing this vital information.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I have been talking with Professor Yahya Tankubaba, who is of Department of Political Science of Usman Danfodio University here in Sokoto. As the new year progresses, residents of Sokoto State are praying for God's intervention towards a better 2021.
The first thing I want to ask is, what did we learn from 2020? 2021 will be better if we begin to reflect on the things that happened in 2020 and then maximize the opportunity. So going forward in 2021, the first thing for any man to do is to return back to his creator, is to return back to the place of God.
We advise governments to try their best to focus on masses. And secondly, security. Security is the most important so far. We will advise the federal government and the state governments to make sure that the security is very tight.
God is going to revive our country, and all these problems that are happening all over, killings and every other thing, that those killers, that God are going to arrest them, those kidnappers, they will change from bad to good. That is our prayer this year.
To pray for the nation, for good economy of this country, and for God to take arrest of the situation, because most of the problems we are having in this nation is insecurity, especially from the villages. So we are praying that God should arrest the situation.
Panorama continues in a moment. Please stay with us.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is, please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
As part of its effort to diversify the state government's economy in creating more jobs and wealth among people, Sokoto state government has started making plans to establish an animal feed production in Sokoto. Dalhatu Abdullahi reports that Governor Amin Waziri Tambol made the disclosure when the state leadership of the Poultry Farmers Association paid courtesy visit at Government House, Sokoto.
Poultry farming is an agricultural subsector, the potentials of which, when properly harnessed, can guarantee food sufficiency. The subsector also enhances self-reliance by providing jobs and create wealth for the people. Governor Amin Waziri Tambol stated that when he assumed office, he observed that there was a gap of lack of proper attention to poultry farming in the state. This, he noted, moved him to create Poultry Production Agency and appointed the special advisor to handle the subsector to harness its potentials for the good of the people of the state.
That we are already collaborating and working together for us to install a 20 tons per hour feed production plant in Sokoto State. I'm sure that will go a long way in addressing some of our challenges.
While urging farmers
to engage in maize cultivation to feed the plant when established. Tambol advised the members of the association to produce a functional business plan to enable them access loans to boost poultry production in the state. Special advisor to the governor, Professor Bello Rabiu Al-Kali, told the governor that currently they have young males and females who have shown interest in poultry production in Sokoto State. In Sokoto, Alatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Traditional and religious leaders must intensify efforts in awareness creation against the second wave of coronavirus pandemic. The Chairman House of Representatives Committee on Healthcare Services, Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu, stated this while inspecting an infectious disease center constructed in Federal Medical Center, Birnin Kebbi. Nura Tanko Wakili reports.
The infectious disease centers are being put in place by the federal government through the National Center for Disease Control as a one-stop facility for the management of infectious diseases such as COVID-19, meningitis, Lassa fever, and other emerging pandemics. This is to enhance the level of preparedness of selected facilities across the country to handle the diseases and other related cases with a view to containing their spread and attendant consequences on the populace. Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu expressed satisfaction with the progress and quality of the work done so far at the center.
The best way we can is for the government to invest in trying to create isolation centers so that we limit the transmission.
It is everything in one spot. In this same place, not only that we have a place for the holding area so that suspected patients can actually be cared for and be catered for until diagnosis is made.
The legislator advocated for strict observance of COVID-19 protocols by the public to contain the spread of the second wave of the disease.
But this is a time of perseverance. We must persevere.
The federal government is also constructing a molecular laboratory in the hospital to enhance access to such services and reduce medical tourism. In Birnin Kebbi, Nura Tanko Wakili, NTA News.
The Presidential Task Force has placed travel restrictions on inbound travelers for refusing to show up at the testing centers and getting their COVID-19 status confirmed. In a tweet on Saturday, the 2nd of January 2021, the task force said it had placed travel restrictions on the affected passengers for failing to comply with COVID-19 travel guidelines, which mandates travelers to run the test 7 days after their arrival into the country. National Coordinator of the Presidential Task Force, Sani Aliyu, had earlier stated that the affected passport holders will be suspended from traveling for a minimum of 6 months. He also affirmed that visas of foreigners who evade the mandatory test will also be revoked. Sani Aliyu further disclosed that the 100 affected persons have been contacted and confirmed to have failed the post-arrival safety protocol. Meanwhile, the Lagos State government is also exploring stiffer measures to containing the spread of the virus. The state government has threatened to deactivate the passports of travelers refusing to comply with COVID-19 testing protocols. The Lagos Commissioner for Health, Akin Abayomi, reportedly insists that the measure has become necessary given the severity of the second wave of COVID-19. The commissioner says the spike may not be unconnected with positive cases of inbound travelers as Nigerians in diaspora return to spend Christmas in Lagos. He said many travelers paid for COVID-19 testing but refused to show up at the testing centers. And now to sports update from our sports desk. The Nigerian Television Authority is set up to transmit another Nigerian professional league. The Nigerian Television Authority is set up to transmit another Nigerian professional league match live today. At 4 p.m., Kano Pillars will lock horns with Katsina United at the Ahmadu Bello Stadium in Kaduna. Correspondent Femi Johnson reports that it promised to be an interesting encounter in line with football fans. Nigerian Air Force has launched a special operation code named and that's it on Panorama this afternoon. Thank you for staying tuned. Good afternoon.